get any indications how the budget's going to look?
Kathy just mentioned she's still working on stuff. But, Nathan, ready?
Yep.
All right, it's 8 o'clock, and this is the Redevelopment Authority meeting. Excuse me, it's Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, and we are in City Hall Council Chambers. Next item on the agenda, I'd like to introduce the new RDA Commissioner, Gary Hartwig. He brings a lot of experience to the table from Merrill Area Development Corporation, Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation, and his past history of real estate in the city for a long time. And I welcome him aboard. Gary, would you like to add anything?
Well, I'd just like to thank you for nominating me, or appointing me, I guess is the word. And I'm really looking forward to being on this group. And I think this is probably one of the more progressive committees in the city. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a good group to be with. Okay?
So welcome aboard. And
Thank you.
We're happy to have you. Next item is minutes of the previous meeting. Consider approval of the August 2nd meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the August 2nd meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have public comment period. Please state your name and address, although we all know it, but you have to do it anyway.
For the record, William Bialecki, 1007 Lake Street, Merrill, Wisconsin. This isn't the last meeting I'm attending as a director, because I'm not the director anymore, Elsa is, but I've been associated with this RDA committee now for about 13 and a half years. When I first came on as mayor, and then through my present capacity. And if you read one of the reports in here on the equalized value, you'll be able to see just how important TIF was all these years, the way it took off and went. We had Redevelopment Authority when I first came on. I remember Alderman Thompson, and one of the first things he asked me is, when in the hell are we going to have a meeting? Well, we changed that in a hurry, I'll tell you that. But been a lot of good people volunteered to serve on here, a couple of mayors pushing it through, keeping it going. Clyde, I think I appointed you. I know I appointed Tony. A couple of you left, many have come and gone. A lot of the good things that have happened in Merrill over these years all came out of this committee, ideas out of this committee, and pushed them through to their succession. It's really been a lot of good, positive change. I just want to comment on one thing. A lot of people deserve credit for all the good things that have happened, but there's one person who doesn't get nearly enough credit, and that is Miss Nerdle over here. And I just personally want to thank you for all you did to make it successful. Well, I was in there, and what you've done, for this committee with the finances and everything else. It hasn't always been easy, and I know we like your cheerful demeanor all the time too, but it's just you've done an awful lot of good. You deserve a lot of credit, Cassie. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll sit down and be quiet.
All right. Any other public comment? Mr. Jaworski.
Jim Jaworski, 14390 Lincoln Drive, Athens, Wisconsin. Here today just to talk a little bit about the success that we've had with our development out by the Mark, and I think we're up to 14 houses now. So the last 2 undeveloped lots are actually sold and are committed for. Foundations will be going in hopefully next week. They're a couple weeks behind with the rain. One to be completed by the end of the year, and then the other one will work over the winter and probably complete that one in about mid-March. So been working with Darren and the mayor a little bit and trying to get some more vacant lots in the city. It's been super successful. This year I didn't even advertise. I didn't put them on the email. I'm a broker. I didn't even have to put them on the MLS. People were coming to us. The last 2 lots, we didn't even have the design in hand, and the people came to us and said, we want to be here. We want this lot. So we obviously committed to them for future builds. So it's not really what I want to do, getting into more contract type of builds. I'd rather do spec houses because we can control it a little bit, the prices. But it's just a good sign of what this market has become. It's very popular. You know, that what you guys have done with tax credits and builder incentives, we've been able to keep those prices down into a range where they compete very competitively with local rents, you know, when you extrapolate a mortgage payment out of that. So a lot of people that have come from Appleton, Green Bay, had said, you know, these houses over there are $350,000. We're selling them for $250,000 to $260,000. So they're appraising $20,000 to $30,000 more than we're selling for, and that's because of the incentive that you guys have given. So it's been great. It's been a fantastic opportunity for us, and I think it's from the tax base that it's you know, bringing to the city should have been or should be a great, you know, future economic plan for you guys. So we're looking forward, hopefully, to staying in Merrill. We're working to try to get some more lots, but anything that you guys could do to encourage that locally, that we can stay in this area, we'd be fantastically happy to do so. So thank you very much for the opportunity the last few years, and look forward to working a few more years together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you've done, too. You've done a lot here.
LaDonna?
LaDonna Furmanek, 109 East 10th Street, and also alderman and on the marketing committee. First of all, I will be the first to say I have not been a huge supporter of TIFs and TIDs, but I do see there is some value to them. I think that the balance value is important, because I do think we have to make sure we're not going over our heads with these things. We have to spend it wisely when we do it, so I will be the first to admit that. And that brings me to this point of the Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation requesting $40,000 for marketing. I don't know. I would assume that they are aware, but perhaps not. The city council has been working on marketing for the last 2+ years. We are just at the point now where we are ready to start with our online marketing. We have this amount of money budgeted for that. We have a totally different approach to what the Lincoln County has. The Lincoln County is saying, you know, let your vacation start here and take you further north. Our approach is come here, live here. We want you to be part of our community. So I would just encourage you to rethink this request. I think that we've got the funding in place and we're moving forward with it from the city's perspective. I do agree there are things we should work with the chamber on that we need to keep in collaboration with. I think those are very valuable. I'm sure there are things with the county that we need to collaborate on, and I hope that we will, but that's just my 2 cents worth on this, so thank you.
Thank you. That exhausts the public here pretty much, unless Nathan or Darren want to get up and say anything. We'll move on to review of Wisconsin Department of Revenue 2023 Equalized Valuations, City of Merrill Equalized Valuations. Kathy?
Yeah, these are the 1/1/23 valuations, equalized valuations, and the city picked up over $100 million in equalized value for 2023. About 2/3 of that is in the various TID districts. And then page 5 of your packet shows the tremendous growth in the tax incremental districts, especially since 2023, or for the last 10 years, from 2013 to 2023. Basically, we got the growth going. That's the critical thing. And then the last page of the fiscal information, page 6 of the packet, basically is the growth of the TIDs. And our objective from May of 2015 was that we needed to move faster and facilitate faster growth in order to backfill when we close out TID number 3 in 2026. So we now have growth in all of the TID districts have an equalized value and will generate tax increment. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I have a question. So like on 5.1.8, that chart, how does this compare to non-TID districts? Do you have a chart showing the equalized valuation growth of those?
The first chart on page 4 shows you the overall growth. I mean basically, 2/3 of the growth is occurring inside TIDs.
Well, I understand that, but I was curious as to how it compares to just non-TID districts. So it seems that growth is across the board, whether it's TID or non-TID.
We have growth throughout the community occurring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Kathy, on page 4, it talks about the equalized value. It says TID in. Is that the city's equalized value?
That's the whole thing,
Within the boundaries of the city?
within the city, yeah.
Okay, so then that's $650 million. And then,
The bottom one is TID out, that's the growth outside the TIDs.
okay.
And then the
So
back.
that's within the city itself,
Yeah,
outside of
and
the
then the
TID
back
districts.
page, the page 5 is the TID increment by itself.
Any further questions?
I guess the only thing to add is we're going to have a market revaluation 1/1 of 24. And the same thing that happened the last time there was a revaluation in 2016, there will be some fairly dramatic shifting of property values throughout the community. I would expect residential properties to increase substantially. That is the one class that's non-compliant in terms of the state standard, and we're below 65% of value. So a property being listed at $80,000 is selling at $150,000.
Question, are we still commissioning a housing study?
There's no housing study been authorized.
We're doing the phase 1 and phase 2 down on the Anson-Gilkey first, and then if they need a housing study, we'll come back to this
Okay,
group.
yeah, I thought that was requested by a potential developer, but
It has not been yet, not until the phase 1 and phase 2 and other things take place.
thank you.
What is a housing study?
Just the study to see, just a general idea of what type of housing we have, the valuations. So the end game would be to determine what kind of housing we need.
Okay,
Yeah, the need of housing for the future.
okay.
And a developer might request that, before they make a decision to build something.
Okay.
From what we're hearing from most of the people that are building homes, everything is needed, but there's only a certain range that is feasible to build new. I mean, to build a $50,000 home new, it doesn't work out. And that's where we're getting these anywhere from $250,000 to $450,000. In that range seems to be the ones that can be built new and make it work without subsidy. So we had that conversation before, and I think
Yeah.
that's the area where, until something else is brought forward as far as different ideas, that seems to be the one that's selling right now.
As long as you bring it up, yeah, I understand that, but what do we do with the people that are making, $10, $15 an hour? Where are they going to live? We need to, that's tough to find an inexpensive place, but this committee has to keep that in mind, certainly.
Yep, hopefully as people move up, some of the lower rent ones open up. That's the thought process.
All right, and here, no further discussion. We'll have update on housing development, City of Merrill residential developments.
Yeah, I've got updated the charts, this is from 2 weeks ago, but basically where you're at this point in time, we've been very successful on the targeted single-family development that we've had. There are basically 5 remaining vacant lots of the group that we've looked at. Otherwise, a lot of development happening. On the second page, I guess if you have not been over to Webster Street, It's absolutely impressive to go look at what's going on. You have the 3 buildings from Nicolay Lumber, Premier Real Estate. Those are being occupied. I don't know how many units are still available, but all 3 buildings are complete and being occupied. And the development on SC Swiderski, under 64 units, is a massive undertaking. They've got both sides of the road going. They got footings in. It's absolutely impressive what's going on the rental market.
They are ahead of what they had proposed as far as development, so.
So I assume that they've already obviously have done their own marketing study and know what the market is based on what they've been renting in the community.
Okay, any questions?
I mean, the reality is there are other vacant lots in the city. It's a matter of who owns them and is sitting on them, and how do we get them developed.
Okay, we'll move on. And the agenda is continued discussion of future redevelopment of corner of West Main Street and South Prospect Street, TID number 8, 403 West Main Street information. Rod?
That site is the old Lincoln County Bank site.
Yep.
Right now, people are parking on it, which we probably should ribbon that off and not allow parking, because we require it to be paved on everybody else's property, and either that or we topsoil it and turn it back into green space. I guess what we're proposing to do is pave all that and create another municipal lot. I know there was some talk about putting it back out for bids as far as proposed or potential building. I guess that's what we're asking, what this committee would like to see done with that property.
Is it big enough to put a house on it?
It's a commercial area there as far as retail. It really wouldn't fit the surrounding zoning, I guess, there.
It's zoned business, and everything else is in real close proximity, so it'd be pretty tough, as Rod said, to make a house work there.
To me, it's pretty apparent that parking lot's the answer for the sake of the merchants, if nothing else. My concern is, would it be a extended parking lot for the housing developments?
It would be a permit parking for in the evening, and it would be a municipal lot, like down here behind Ace.
Okay.
But it'd be winter permit and
Night permit.
right, night permit. Being that I am on the west side quite a bit of my time when I'm not here, and talking to the business owners and people that own rentals up in that area, they would like to see another parking or municipal lot up there where it's permit, because the closest one is the one over by the S&S. And that's full and gets used quite a bit. I hate to make another parking lot, but I feel that would be potential growth for the west side too.
Agreed.
And there seems to be a turnover of storefronts there where people have opportunities for businesses there. Over the years, it seems like there's always been something available. And we did put it out for RFP once back in, I want to say like 2017 or 18, after we did tear it down. And a couple of the proposals weren't accepted by this committee or the council, so.
Right.
To me, the last question is, are you putting on this year's budget, or you're targeting for a year from now, 2 years from now?
This year's budget.
You're gonna have a number for this year's budget.
It's already in here, yeah.
Each of the sections would be $30,000 for paving. You have two main parcels, and then the smaller one, which probably makes more sense to retain as part of the alley. You had a 12-foot section. If you go to page...
And the alley, I mean, we're not going to pave the parking lots and leave the alley. We're going to fix it all.
That parking lot that's behind there is in pretty rough shape right
We own the
now.
one on the south side of the alley also?
Yeah.
Are you talking about redoing the whole thing, or?
Yeah,
It was 30, I think I had figured 30 for each side there, so.
yeah, 60,000 total for,
And next for 2024 budget.
2024.
I would agree to that. That'd be forward to the budget then.
Want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I will second. So we have a motion and a second to refer to the 2024 budget for the city of Merrill, that $60,000 be requested, $30,000 for each lot to repave that and make the 403 West Main lot municipal parking lot. Any further discussion from the committee?
I have a question. That's funded through TID then? Is how
That would be a
works?
TID 8 expense.
Okay.
And the other part is, you did mention it, Mr. Aki, but, this committee and Mr. Our zoning manager, excuse me, does require people to blacktop material, blacktop it once they've got things done, and it's important that we do that. We need to be, this committee needs to be above that and do what's right instead of just sitting on it for a while.
Right.
We have to be consistent with our ordinances. I mean, if we're going to enforce,
Others?
a little hypocritical otherwise.
Bill, did you have anything you wanted?
Elsa's got something to add.
Elsa? Could you use the microphone, Elsa, please? You can use that one, just sit there if you like.
Hi, I'm Elsa Duranceau. So I have been working with someone who owns property, a building right on the corner that's by that lot, and we're working on a grant through the Housing and Urban Development, the U.S. Housing, Urban and Development, and part of the building plans has to include parking. And with the Housing and Urban Development of that, the funding that they could potentially provide would be for the renovation of the second floor of this corner lot into affordable housing units. So it would go to the, keeping in mind that we need to provide affordable housing for people who are making $10 to $15 an hour. And part of this grant request could be in response to the need of parking. Just wanted to make note of that. Thank you.
Okay.
What corner are you talking about, or what's the address?
The South Genesee Street and that.
I'm going to say it's Stephanie's building. Any corner for Bumpers.
The old armory.
Is what she's trying to say is your parking lot resurfacing might be able to.
Right, help move.
You might be
help
able
move
to
this
include
along.
that in the grant application, right? For grant, for
Absolutely.
funds from rural development.
Put it in your budget, and if the grant comes through, then you keep the money.
Well, I think we would
Then
have
it's-
to transfer property to her to get that to work. It wouldn't be something that you could,
I don't know. I watched a webinar yesterday, and they specifically said no transferring of property is needed as long as it's part of the same plan.
okay.
Well, we'll put it in the budget,
Yep.
and if we can get the grant, that's great. And if we can't, we're going to move forward with the,
Something we'll talk about later.
right. Any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve moving to the budget, the paving of the parking lot, both lots, and for $60,000, $30,000 per parcel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is introduction of new Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation, Executive Director Elsa Duranceau, and then the marketing request.
Hello again. I'm Elsa Duranceau. I am the new Executive Director for Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation. Just as a kind of a background on where I'm coming from. I was born and raised here in Merrill, graduated year 2000. I went off to school at UW-Madison. I was in the Air Force for 8 years. And when I separated, I started my life in the nonprofit world at the Henry Vilas Zoological Society. I was the executive assistant there for wonderful director, and then went on to work for child support and the North Central Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. My top talent, I guess you would, or expertise is grant writing and coordinating. So hopefully you'll see, well, not hopefully, you will see and hear a lot more about different grant opportunities and how we can creatively weave these opportunities to stretch our dollars. And with that is the proposal or the request for the $40,000 on behalf of the Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation for a comprehensive marketing campaign. Through Travel Wisconsin, there is a matching grant fund. It is considered a GEM grant, which is a joint effective marketing campaign, and they will match funds up to $39,550. So I rounded up to a request of $40,000. With that, over the course of 2 years, we plan on hosting a Lincoln County Economic Summit, which is planning for around February of this next year, and with the direct aims at unveiling our Lincoln County, but it will be hosted mostly here in Merrill. There will be breakout sessions in Tomahawk to include our other rural areas. So with this marketing campaign, we can't do it alone. The Merrill Area Chamber of Commerce will have to participate in some way that we don't know yet, as well as the Midwest Communications or any of the other, usual suspects of marketing that are in this area. So this Economic Summit is going to be the first event that will be officially launched by the Economic Development Corporation. Yeah. I'm happy to answer any questions.
The request of $40,000, is that above and beyond the 27.5, or is that the additional 12.5 to get you there from what we already contributed?
Oh, that's in addition to.
The 40,000 is an addition?
Yes. So the contributions that are currently part of the Economic Development Corporation is going towards me staffing. I will eventually have to hire an additional person to help coordinate grants and coordinate these events.
Do you have a proposal for this?
A detailed proposal of use?
It was the letter in here. That was it.
I've got it in another packet, I think, somewhere.
Pages 13 and 14.
Go ahead.
Previously, Mr. Mayor, when I was attending the marketing committee through Mrs. Firmanek there, and we did bring up the fact about getting GEM grants to help with marketing of the city, and they were in fact matching grants through Travel Wisconsin, I believe it is, and Scott Anderson out of Clintonville or Wapaka was going to help us try and develop that grant. The first year is a 75-25 grant where the 75% of the money comes from Travel Wisconsin and 25% comes from whoever the other person is, and the following year it's 50-50, and the third year it's 25-75. I believe, I know you want to hold an economic summit here, but I believe that this request, in my mind, would be better suited from a marketing committee standpoint to use those dollars that they have through the cable network that we have.
And that's what I'm proposing in the 2024 budget. That's
Okay.
my assumption. It's not TIF money.
It's a 3-year commitment for this $40,000 over a 3-year period of time, with the least amount of it in the first year, if I'm correct. In the second year, it's 50%, and the third year, it'd be 75% of that.
The application due date for that GEM grant for 2024 is November 1st of 2023.
A little late.
Yeah, there
No.
wouldn't be any way that we'd get that approved in the budget. Our budget probably wouldn't be approved till mid-November.
I'd see a lot of coordination necessary between the chamber, yourself, and marketing. And
I believe it would be a great opportunity for the city to leverage dollars to get money in here in order
Yeah.
to do this type of thing.
So the application has to be 3 months before the money can be requested to be spent. So I would work on writing this application, and we would find out in early November if our proposal is accepted, and then 3 months before our event happens or starts to happen or the planning happens is when we're allowed to start requesting the money. So I believe, yeah, that's it.
It's a great opportunity. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but I think the timing just might be a little off from that standpoint. I think GEM grants also, it's November, and I think there's another one in April that you can apply for. I think it's twice a year that you can apply for those GEM grants.
I don't think so. I think it ends because these are ARPA funds, so it ends this year. This is the last time we could apply for the GEM grant. If I am wrong, I do apologize, but I'm...
Were you going to spend the whole 80,000 on that summit, or what was the plan?
No. So part of all of this is marketing, and it's an ongoing marketing campaign, which would include the summit. That would be kind of the kickoff highlight to let's go, like, to Merrill, to Lincoln County, to Tomahawk. And as long as we can tie all of this marketing that we're doing into this event for the GEM grant, we can match it. So that 75% would come from the GEM, and then the rest would be coming from the $40,000 request. How it would work over the 3 years, it would be kind of a building a ship as it goes type of thing.
Have you approached the other entities, Lincoln County and City of Tomahawk, for any extra money?
I have not.
I mean, I don't think the City of Merrill should be on the hook for the whole thing, is what I'm trying to say. City
Well,
of
I think
Tomahawk
that's-
hasn't contributed enough in the past how many years?
Well, I think that's kind of a short-sighted view of what
I don't know how
we're
it's
trying to
short-sighted,
do.
and I take offense to that.
Well, I apologize, Mayor, because it's $40,000 over the course of 3 years, and it is meant directly for Merrill. It's meant to fill Merrill hotels. It's meant to fill Merrill coffee shops and local taverns and bringing people in. And we're going to start this event in February. And so what I'm requesting is funding to stretch the funds. Nothing about this proposal says that we have to use all of the money. If monies are not used, it can go back into the kitty. If it's not used, it can go and be reallocated to other organizations. I don't think we are limited on how we can use this money, nor the timeline.
Why would this program not be available to Tomahawk?
It could be available to Tomahawk if
Why
they had.
wouldn't you, I mean, you work for the whole county, why wouldn't you help promote Tomahawk also?
I will help promote Tomahawk.
It's the same program?
Possibly, yeah. I have not had the time to go there. I was asked to make this proposal pretty early on. I've only been as the acting director since the 10th of September.
So would you need the 40,000 up front, or is it 13,300 whatever per year?
We have to request as if we have the 40,000 up front. So if we want these matching grants and sending our plan into Travel Wisconsin, we have to show the potential use and that we already have this money.
Do you have a marketing plan in place for how would you use the $80,000?
Yes.
I mean, that would be something that I would be interested in seeing, because I have no idea if this aligns with the purpose of this committee, what we're doing for the city. I mean, there's only so much money, and honestly, there's no money, because all money spent is taxpayer money, essentially, and it's all ends up being borrowed money. So
This money, as I understand, is from the hotel tax, the room tax. And the only way that you can replenish this money is by getting people to stay in our hotels. Then they get taxed on their stays, and it goes back into the kitty.
talking about the money from this committee.
From this 40,000.
Would this be better served in the marketing committee as far as the request?
I believe
think so.
that's where it should be.
Yeah, we don't have $40,000 of room tax available to doing this.
No.
I mean, I'm working with the assumption from this information that's been provided that it's coming from the cable franchise marketing and communication portion, not room tax.
Your Honor. The cable franchise?
Yep, the CATV committee, or that's what it used to be called. Now it's the Marketing Communications Committee, has a fund that uses that money for promotion and marketing of the city. At this point, I think that we need to I'll make a motion to refer this to the Marketing Communications Committee next meeting so that they can discuss it if that's where the money is potentially going to come from.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to refer this to the Marketing and Communications Committee. Any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. To Mr. Ackey's question here, the commitment is for $39,300 over a 3-year period of time. In the first year, the city needs to commit to $3,325. The second year, it's like, half of that amount or twice that amount, like $6,600. In the third year, it'd be almost $10,000. So,
and I think that needs to be communicated to the Marketing and Communications Committee meeting so they can forward it to the next budget.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I would appreciate if we get that to be broken out that way so we know exactly what it is the request is.
Yep, I agree with that.
I mean, it's a different picture if it's $40,000 for times 3 versus $40,000 over a 3-year
over a 3-year period of time with a little amount this year and larger the second year.
We'd like to capitalize on any grants available, but the timing isn't right. I mean, if we're going to be, this would be approved in basically the November council meeting.
Right.
Which is too late for your grant.
Yes.
So there are steps that have to be.
From another note, I'm glad that that Elsa here is trying to find grant opportunities for the city in order to leverage other dollars that the city might have. It's just the timing of the issue is a little off.
Right. Yeah.
If I may, we were asked to submit. We were asked to submit this, and by no means target her for it because she's only been in the job for 3 weeks. So.
No, I agree.
And she and I actually started digging yesterday, and we were looking at the marketing committee minutes. We both said, what in the hell are we doing this for? It should be going there. So just so you know where we're coming from.
Right. That's why I think the motion on the floor is appropriate.
Question.
Call the question. All right, we have a motion and a second to refer this to the next Marketing Communications Committee meeting for their review of it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I do believe that's the last Thursday in the month. Is that right?
The 18th or something.
Third Thursday?
So what date is it? 19th?
Okay. All right, moving on to review of preliminary 2024 Tax Increment District TID budget requests.
And I don't have anything to hand out other than for the 4 members who were not at the committee of the whole last week. There's 2 documents, and Gary was there and the mayor were there. This is basically
That goes to Clyde.
a summary of a TIF fiscal position, and
It's the same one we had before?
yeah, this is, and basically what's happening with this is we'll be further refining this. Some of the decisions you made tonight will be included, or to this afternoon, or this morning, will be included in the draft budget. A lot of the budget really is related to paying off debt service. We're in a different phase of the TIDs in terms of closing things out. As you can see in the detail, which is really small, but the last revenue year for TID 3 is 2026. So that we're moving to a significant step of closing that TID out. We've proposed closing several other earlier ones off earlier, TID 5 specifically, and this gives you the overall fiscal. If you go to the city website, you have a video of the actual presentation that was made by Brian Riley of Ellers, and would encourage you to do that, but this gives you kind of a quick overview of where we're at, and we'll provide you the draft budgets as soon as I get that portion completed. But I think we're in a very positive position, strategically positioned to move forward for the community.
And I know that the members that just received this today, I mean, it ain't a lot of time to review it, but if you do have questions,
Yeah.
please reach out to city staff and we'll answer any questions.
Yeah, it's more just information in terms of where we're at.
Kathy, did I hear you say that you're looking at closing TID 5 earlier?
Yeah, we talked about that at that meeting, basically looking at closing. TID 5 is a small TID that's been replaced really by TID 11, and the plan to turn that one, so get there. TID 5, we'd be looking at closing that after April 15th, 2024. So the last revenue year would be 2025. So we have kind of a game plan. TID 4, we are likely to be able, we're going to need to keep TID 4 open another 3 years in order to pay back the general fund advances and pay for infrastructure projects needed in that area. But we got a very positive direction of where we're at.
I know there's been some comments before, Mr. Nerdle, but without having an opportunity to review the documents today here, at what point in time do the general fund advances be paid off?
Well, we're going to continue to do that on an ongoing basis, but we're probably 5 years out, completely to have it all paid back.
Okay. There's a slide in there that talks about the next 5 years, actually the next 4, and how much the general fund recovers, and it's considerable.
Does that take into account any future spending? Is there like budget in the?
No, it's a point in time.
So right now, if we were to spend nothing in 5 years, we'd be.
The general fund would be paid off, but the TID borrowings would still be out there.
Yeah,
And to begin with, this committee, I believe, used general fund financing for that, for certain projects, and now we've done TID financing instead, which is
When it
a
makes
different
sense.
borrow.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Those are a point in time, like at the point they do the reporting, that snapshot, it doesn't look at anything in the future.
Correct.
Mark, a lot of the new TID, say expenditures or incentives or infrastructure, we've been able to use TID funding for, so we didn't have to go to the general fund. And they're strong enough now where we're in that position.
I mean, basically, these projections, if you look on the right far, the revenue side, the TID increment does not include growth that's going to be continuing to happen. So that's.
It's always been sort of from when I started on this committee, it's been difficult where you don't, like every meeting, something, and it's been better actually, but, or something new is brought up. Let's spend money on this, money on that. There's no like budget kind of idea. So I just want to be clear that on these numbers that it's with, not that we're not going to spend any money moving forward, but to have in our minds that, oh, we're going to be paid off in 5 years. What if $50,000 goes a year, $100,000, $1 million goes there?
But those are general fund obligations to be paid off in 5 years. If something comes before this committee, we may look at getting TID financing for it, not general fund financing for it, okay? And I think that's the important distinction there. Because, if we had a crystal ball, we'd know how many developers would come to the city over the next 6 months and request funds. We don't have that. But
We're definitely in a recovery mode, it looks like, unless a new development comes forward. And like you said, this is a very opportunistic process, and you never know what's going to come before you. So,
I mean, the key trigger is to be able to close TID 3 down.
Yeah.
Then you can basically address other developments if we had something major come in. If right now we're at over the 12% equalized value limit, in order to create another TID, we would need to get special legislation through the Wisconsin legislature.
Or to modify, say, TID 13, which is our industrial park. If for some reason we want to, close that one out and recreate another TID, we can't do that right now because we're over the value. If we want to go out there and make that a residential TID, we would have to close. That's an industrial TID now. We'd have to create a different concept there, correct, Kathy?
Yeah, but you can't just take property and create just a residential
Right.
area through TID. Only 35% of the area, physical area, could be a TID for newly platted residential. We've been able to do that with our existing TIDs, like 8 and 11, simply because they're bigger areas and meet the criteria. Same thing with TID 4 on Johnson Street. We platted 5. Basically, we did some platting, but that's within the boundaries there, within the state criteria. We don't set the criteria. The state of Wisconsin legislature does.
I'll reserve some comments later on, but I mean, the city's in, this body, I should say, is in good condition to pay off the borrowings through the city, which is a great thing.
Yeah, we're poised to be in a good, right. I agree with you, 100%.
I mean, if we weren't using TIDs for the infrastructure, you would have gravel streets in this community.
Yep.
Because we financially cannot afford it on the general fund side.
Kathy, what's our credit rating at now? Unrated?
Unrated.
We are going to do unrated borrowing for the future.
Okay.
Basically, 5 years from now,
I know
you'll be able
our
to...
double A is sailed a long time ago, I know that.
So, passing that off for you, and well, I'll send the draft budget before it goes to the next committee of the whole, which is on the 16th, I believe.
Yep. And then, like I said, if any members of the committee that got this document today have any questions, please feel free to reach out to city staff. We'll try to answer the best we can. And or if we don't know it, we'll get you the answer. Next is the closed session. The RDA may convene in the closed session for Wisconsin State's Section 19.85 Sub 1 Sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business when other competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session to consider. This is to negotiate a potential TID development incentives to facilitate future residential development in TID number 7, North Center Avenue area. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed.
Also move, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
You have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Lori, can you call the roll? Or Kathy, do you want to do?
Okay.
Sorry.
Haas,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Bars,
Aye.
Sabaki,
All right.
Redkowski, and Hartwick.
Aye.
Carried, Mayor, 6-1, 6-0.
All right, we'll give a minute to get the camera shut down and
Turn mics off.